I've got a dread that this is just going to go everywhere. We've got to the stage of restoring my lovely little Parlour guitar, 1890 according to the forums, where we've done all the internal bracing and we've got some cracks to fill in here and here. Now, I don't know whether the cracks are big enough to use a splinter of wood to fill them, or whether to use end grain dust, whether they're a little bit too big for that, but whichever method, it will involve super glue. Now, I'll bring you in closer to look at this one, because I think this crack is fairly straightforward. It's all nicely flat now. The brace has worked well and it's all ready to be filled. This one has been a little bit more of an issue because I could only put the one patch in. The ends don't quite meet up here, and there's going to be a few little shenanigans to try and get those two sides to meet up suitable for filling. Otherwise I'm going to be sanding down the surface of the guitar, and I don't want to be doing that. Now, can you see how the crack hasn't quite mated up beyond where I put the patch in? The patch is about here and it's mated up nicely up to that point. Now, this part of the top, or back rather, is higher than this part. This is curved, it has its radius in it, whereas this part has flattened out and is lower than it should be. Now, what I'm hoping to do is to clamp here to press the two halves together so that we can then super glue them and fill. And then when the clamp is released, this side should pop up, I'm hoping. And I'm hoping I can do this without splintering any wood, because we don't want to be doing that at this stage. And we're going to clamp across and hopefully close those two parts up. I'm keeping the core that I had cling film on from yesterday, because I think the cling film might prove useful. Right. Still a little bit raised. Let's move this back. That's actually pretty good. Now, to create some maple dust, I'm using a file. I don't know whether some people would think that that's too coarse, but it does produce a very fine dust. What I've found is if I use sandpaper, I get little particles of sand in with the maple, so I find this produces a much cleaner dust. I've applied a little bit of masking tape just along the edge of the clamp, because I've got the clamp really close to the crack, and I think there's going to be a bit of run out of super glue, and I don't want it to go under the clamp because the clamp's got to remain on. This is all a bit risky, but when the super glue is nearly dry, I'm going to whip the tape off. The timing of this could be critical, but the idea is, I will do it now. We add a little dust and work it into the crack. So we work the dust well into the crack. Apply super glue. Apply more dust, pull off the tape, and hopefully we're there. It says use 1 drop of this per square inch, and it's not a very fine nozzle, and I've got a dread that this is just going to go everywhere. Let's see. It is spreading out considerably. we go, it's running down the crack. I'm actually going to spread it manually. No, I think it's better to leave it than start messing with it. Right, let's pour some more dust on. And that's not coming off. Yep, that's okay. That's fine. Let's see what we've got here. And it did stick to the guitar. There's a little bit of runoff around the edge, but actually cling film worked quite well. So there we go. I'm going to use a Stanley knife blade. I think some people call them box cutters. I've always called them Stanley knives, with a little bit of masking tape at either end. I think this is an internet tip I picked up off somebody. You can see the colour of that dust. It's got a very slight French polish sheen to it. This is not super glue I'm taking away, it is the original finish, but I'm okay with that because the two surfaces are not going to be exactly level. Although they are pretty close. That is a very smooth finish. But I am taking away super glue here. I think it's worked quite well, but it's not an invisible crack. I think because of the width of it, maybe I should have used an actual slither of wood to fill it. But I think it'll get better when the finish is reapplied. However I choose to do that, there's a decision to be made. I think that's worked remarkably well. May leave it there for now until final finishing. I've yet to decide whether to completely refinish this guitar or whether to just patch it up. I might paint some shellac over the top of that, or I might redo the whole thing, but obviously it'll need rubbing down with some fine grades paper or wire wool, or both. Yeah, I'm going down quite close to the wood now. What finish is left is quite thin. It has helped to level it out. Just put a spot of water on there. Yeah, it's not an invisible repair. But it's not bad. certainly polish up quite well, I think. You can see as it dries, it's needs some shellac on it. There we go. Fairly good, I think. Got to the stage and